the crowd, like, how many of you folks are blue teamers? Do the defense stuff. Awesome. Cool. How many folks are red teamers? All right. How many folks think of themselves as purple teamers? All right. Yeah, that's what we're trying to help spread the word on the purple team, because red and blue working together is good stuff. Yeah. Well, we're at start time. Are we streaming? We're streaming. Hello, Internet. How you doing? There's a lot of links in this deck, so feel free to take this picture. I'll keep it up for a little bit, and I will be posting a similar link at the end of the talk. The elements aren't yet up there. The content isn't yet available, but I will be posting it. Part of the reason why is I'm king of editing my deck up until the last moment. There are slides that have notes, and they were some of those were updated just last night. So some things about me. Hi, my name's Mick, and I'm the managing partner of, hi Aaron, I'm the managing partner at InfoSec Innovations. We're a new consulting company, and we're going to be trying to do some new things. Now, those of you who know me know that I used to work at Binary Defense, and I still do. I've got much love for the Binary Defense family. Hey, guys. And I'm not really left them. I still do 1099 work with them. So if you're working with Binary Defense and I'm on a call or I'm on a webinar, don't think anything weird about it. My main reason for leaving Binary Defense was to go with SANS. Recently, I was very humbled to be rewarded by becoming a SANS certified instructor, and they asked me to teach once a month, which was awesome. I've been trying to make that level for about 10 years with SANS now. And when they said, you want to teach once a month, I was like, hey, heck yeah. And then I told Binary Defense, and they're like, that means you're going to be out 3 months a year. And I was like, oh, yeah, that math makes sense, sorry. So that's what kind of drove it. There's no like hidden anything else. The main class that I teach is 504, Incident Handling. Much love for IR, and this talk is about how to use PowerShell to help avoid an IR situation or to make IR better and easier. You can hit me on Twitter at BetterSafetyNet. InfoSec Innovations has a motto, and that motto is better information security through science, creativity, and caring. This talk is all about creativity. As a result, the links and the scripts that I will be showing you have a certain level of breakage. I wouldn't recommend that you do these in production right away. However, the next round will be the science aspect, where we actually do real solid QA, and I would love some help, love some feedback and input on that. Let's begin. On June 27th, my life went upside down, and for some of you, your life did too. Unfortunately, we had a situation where we had multiple clients. Well, there were people who weren't clients. They called us up and said, we need to be a client right now. It was horrible. I didn't sleep much, neither did they, and everyone dug in and lived through the not Petya, GoldenEye, whatever we want to call this attack. It was horrible. And it was eye-opening to me because, you know, I'll admit it, I thought that I was pretty top of the food chain when it came to incident response, and this was very humbling to me. The facts of the matter are that when this attack took place, we were seeing on the artillery sensor network, and this is a stat that's been borne out with other defenders, if you have a network of around 5,000 hosts, you would have a 99% infection rate in 10 minutes. Pop quiz, can you call your manager and have them answer the phone in under 10 minutes during the business day? This attack was weaponized and highlights more than anything else that the speed of the attacker has fundamentally shifted. When I was getting into incident response, we tried to deal with the slow and low attack, where the attackers would get in, camp out, and have a long dwell time. And it would oftentimes be months. That no longer occurs. I wish it still were. I mean, make no mistake, it's really unfortunate when that takes place, but now what we're seeing is an attacker will get in maybe through a phishing attack or some other means, and then 90 seconds later they have gathered enough configuration information, netstat and the network shares, and they disconnect and they're gone. we need to speed up. Some of this talk is just going to be throwing things out there and seeing if it works. If you think they're dumb ideas, maybe they are, but I'm just trying to change the status quo. One of the things that really upset me about the Petya, not Petya attack was the community response. There were many people who said, oh, we're good. We are good. We're totally safe. And they have that smug look on that face. By the way, release the Wu-Tang, come on. And to that I say, yeah, okay, whatever. Because, you know, folks have this audacity that, yeah, it wouldn't happen to us. Well, look at some of the people who were the victims of this. Major multinational corporations, some of which have an InfoSec department larger than your entire company. Gigantic corporations that were completely paralyzed by this. So to those folks who have that attitude, I'd say get over yourself. You need to understand that you got lucky because you didn't have a business partner in the Ukraine, or you got lucky because of some quirk of how the firewalls were set up at work. You got lucky. It wasn't your turn. And if you got hit with it, you have my condolences. I was there in the trenches. It wasn't really good. The bad news is that we're going to be seeing more and more of these attacks. One of the things that was very sobering about this particular attack, the not Petya attack, was that it was a legitimate update from the MEDOC software, a very popular bit of software in the Ukraine. Since I've made this deck, there was the thing that happened with CC Cleaner, or C Cleaner, crap cleaner, right? This is an attack that is going to be around, and it's been around for quite some time. We're just seeing it now in a higher profile. And you have to start asking yourself, can you defend against weaponized patches from trusted vendors? Holy crap. What's even worse is that a lot of people say, well, we QA things. We'll put them in QA and set them up, and we'll detect it. No, you wouldn't. The MEDOC attack actually started on the 22nd of June. They sat for 5 days before they launched. This is probably the only time that you can be like, yay, we got a slow patch cycle, yay! That's the only time that's good. This is really sobering stuff. It's scary. And yet, in the face of this, people still are saying, we'd stop that. And I say, no, you wouldn't. And we see that people say, well, you know, the vendor said blah, blah, blah. And one of the things that made me want to vomit when I was working and being super sleep deprived at those client sites was I would do like Google searches and I would see ads that would say, hey, we detect the NotPetya attack. Well, sure, now you do. Don't laugh. That is a serious problem in the industry. It's gallows humor that I have, but do you guys remember the whole Stuxnet debacle? They were like, oh yeah, we totally detect that. Yeah, after it got reverse engineered and everybody else was infected. It's crazy. So like when vendors say, oh yeah, we detect that, I say, yeah, cool story, bro. Because yes, you detect it now, but where were you in the moment of need? How dare you have the audacity to say that? To that point, really? Here's what your detection does. Yeah, you detect that attack. You detect it faster so that I can cash my cyber insurance claim. It's horrible. The industry is jacked up. If you haven't seen John Strain's talk, take a watch. He's right on a lot of things. The bottom line is, after attack response is too late, the horse has already left the barn. Maybe my auto response scripts are going to start up any moment now. And there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, you're leading edge. You've got auto response scripts. Yay, team. This is horrible. There's got to be a better way. Now, what I'm going to be doing here from the rest of this talk is just throwing some stuff out there. And feel free to shoot it down. I got zero ego on this. Now, what I would encourage you, though, is if you see me doing something dumb, if you say, wow, this is a weird idea, I would encourage you to give me an option instead. Even if you're not a coder, you know, I I can kind of sort of code. If you are a coder and say, wow, your PowerShell skill sucks, I'll be like, it totally does. I'm a hacker, not a dev. But like, I will take the input and try to be better. So what about PowerShell? Yes, absolutely. Let's take a look at PowerShell. PowerShell is an API glue. A lot of people think of it as an attack platform or as a system automation tool, and yeah, it kind of does that, but what I like to do with PowerShell, where I think PowerShell is doing its best, is when PowerShell is stitching together and doing different things. And I've got some demos where we're going to be doing that. Basically, mixing and matching API calls and doing really crazy things that are quite fantastic in my opinion. So the bottom line is PowerShell plus security equals awesome, or it can. So you need to start defending like you mean it. Here's some things that you should do to make your network really tough for the bad guy. Number one, isolate each host. I know that's painful. I get that. I have had many a systems administrator like wince when I say this. I've had many network admins want to draw knives or guns on me when I start talking about putting in private VLANs everywhere. I get that that's tough. I'm going to give you some scripts that you can use as alternatives to this as a way to kind of staunch the bleeding a little bit. Minimize the host attack surface. This is something that we've been preaching for ages. Harden your machines. One of the worst things that have happened to computer security was the firewall. I know that sounds weird, but I'm seeing some of the graybeards going like, hell yeah. Because it used to be that you had to harden each and every host. We've lost our way. And I get it, I'm guilty of it too. Everybody wants to rapidly deploy and get things out there. I'm going to show you some things that you can do to expedite and lower that level of effort that's required to hardening and minimizing the host attack surface. But I'll tell you what, you should be doing this anyway, and the main reason is for virtualization. You can get a better convergence, have a better VM density if you do this. And then the last one is aggressively monitor for baseline deviations. Know what normal looks like in your environment. One of the reasons that I find incident response one of the most stressful things is when I go to a client and I say, hey, one of your machines is compromised, and they're like, yep. And I'm like, yeah, that sucks, so let's compare against a baseline. And they're like, well, you can compare web server 1 with web server 2. And I kind of get a little eye twitch, and they're like, why, what's wrong? And I'm like, well, how do you know that that web 2 hasn't been compromised already? And then they get that eye twitch, and I get that eye twitch, and it's a bonding moment, but it's really an uncomfortable thought. If you don't know what normal looks like in your network, how are you going to detect abnormal? Earlier I said that I teach for SANS, and the SANS method for incident response can be summarized as PICRL. It stands for preparation, identification, containment, eradication, recovery, and lessons learned. In this talk, we're going to be focusing on the first half, the preparation, identification, and containment. So, preparation. You need to isolate each host, and you need to harden each host. You need to make those endpoints secure. You need to make those servers secure. And I get that. I get that it's hard to do this. But there's plenty of ways that you can do this now. There's lots of good ideas and tools out there. You can harden the operating system via a variety of means. Pete, right up here at the front, hey, he's got an app locker policy that is bonkers. It drives pen testers to drink. Believe it or not, what he did is he made Microsoft an untrusted publisher. And it worked. Based off of GPO, you don't get to run command, you don't get to run PowerShell, you don't get to run diddly squat, and you basically are whitelisted for the applications that are required for your job function. And before you say, well, it's possible because Pete works at a small company, no. You might want to chat with him. He works at a very large, interesting company. I don't know if you can share that, but it's a fun place. Matt Graber gave a great tool on his lockdown mention. I covered it in the keynote. A couple days prior to Derby, he even made mention of it. You should check this out. I did some real quick analysis. It's pretty baller. It's a real good lockdown, and it applies damn near instantly. You can roll it out via GPO, SCCM, whatever you want to do. It's a really good way of doing it. You should also do things like harden the individual services. Please don't forget to do that. There's a great IIS hardening script that I've got in the appendix to this talk that basically goes through and makes a lot of config changes that makes it really nice and tight. Also, don't forget about the CIS scoring tools. Those are incredibly powerful. And all of these are covered in greater depth in the appendix of this talk, which will be available at this URL. So it's not up yet, but it will be. Now, all of these are things that you can get off the shelf, just download and use freely. What's wild is Microsoft has leapfrogged Linux in many counts. And among them is a thing called desired state configuration. You need to look into this. You need to look into this. You need to look into this. If you do nothing else after this conference, look into this. And the reason why is it takes a little bit of time to set up these desired state config files, but once you have them set up, you just tell a Windows machine, hey, go apply these things, and it will make that configuration happen. If you're familiar with tools like Puppet or Chef or CF Engine, Ansible, etc., that's what this is. Windows native. It's awesome. Use it. So, first tool that I want to chat about, Whale to Ban. This is a tool written by Katie McLaughlin, and it's weird. So for those of you who don't know, Fail to Ban is a tool that you can use to on Unix systems that will, you try to SSH in and it will block you if you have enough bad logins. Whale to Ban is the Windows version of Fail to Ban, and it works really well. Here's how it works in an illustrated concept. We have an attacker machine and a good guy machine. User Bob tries to log in. Now, let me back up. I want to talk about password sprays. Not enough people are detecting password sprays, and it drives me insane. Everyone thinks that they're defending against brute forcing, where I try multiple times against it and they're like, haha, I've got the password lockout policy, we'll catch you. I don't do that. I never would do that. That causes account lockouts. That's noisy as all hell. What I do is I do a slow and low attack where I will try logging in with one account, but the same password. And I might do it like once a week or maybe once a day if I'm feeling sporty, so that when the user logs in, their password reset count is reset. So they try to log in, nope, nope, yes, no, 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 yes. And what's unfortunate is the larger your organization is, the greater statistical likelihood that this attack will work. So this works, it works well as an attack. Now, if you have, if you don't have Whale to Ban, what is going to happen, let's see if I can get this going here. I know you can't see this, I'm just starting up my VM. Okay, so what I'm showing you here is this is a machine that's going to be the victim of a login attempt, and what we've got is port 445 is enabled and available. So let me slide over to there, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to try pinging this box 192.168. And the ping doesn't work because the firewall's up. But I'm going to show you that the port is actually open using the test net connection. Now, what's going to happen is the testnet connection is like a port scanner basically built in, and you can see TCP test succeeded equals true, so that means that port is open. What we've proved here is that the firewall is up, running, and doing its thing. So now, let's slide over to the VM, and we're going to run the Whale to Ban system. Oh no, access denied. Let's see here. I didn't say suitor. Yeah. Wait a second, let's start the right one. Okay, what I've done is I've removed the PowerShell execution restriction policy, and now what I'm going to do is run whale to ban, and cool, now we're good to go. So now what happens is when I slide over to my attack machine, what I can do is I can do like net use star. All right, so what I'm trying to do is just log in with this one generic user account, no big whoop. And so what we're going to do here with this net use account is basically test to see if that user account is available and if that password works. Now it does take a little bit of time, mainly because it's demos. And we can see that we've got an attempt count of 1. All right, so password isn't, here, let's maximize that. Password is not correct, so maybe we try a different user, and let's slide over, and we can see that we've got attempt 2. All right, drama, attention's building. What you want to do with this is you're wanting to set this threshold to one that reasonably isn't going to get triggered by a normal user. And come on. What I've got this one set for is to trip on 3, so it's basically a 3 strikes you're out. That's too low in the real world. What I would encourage you to do is maybe like an n+1, or maybe even n times 2, where n is the number of times it takes for a user account to lock out. And of course, the demo gods have foiled me in a more interesting way than I had anticipated by going slow. Well played, demo gods. Well played. Oh, and here we go. So for those who can't see that, let's zoom in. Ban added after number 3. Now, what's cool is this is going to just sit here forever. And now when I try to run this same net connection, same options, what's going to happen in, hopefully in a moment, it will simply say false. Now, it does take a little bit longer because if it can't do a normal TCP, it tries a variety of other couple connection attempts. So come on. There we go. Cool. So it says failed. So this is awesome. As a pen tester, if you do this, I'm going to hate you. And that's what you want, right? You want to really angry up the pen testers. All right, so back to our regularly scheduled programming. Okay. So basically, here's how this works. You log in with a couple. Whether or not you get in or not is irrelevant. What happens in this case is it's listening for an event ID of failed login, and so 3 failed logins will trigger, at which point your next request is denied and any subsequent requests are all denied. So this just kills the attacks dead. So you can get it here. Remember, you can't bill IR hours if the clients don't get popped. That's what you got to remember. Other things that you need to do is monitor for your problems. Please monitor for problems. Identification is the phase that most people think is just some sort of magical thing, and it's not. You got to figure out what's going on. One of my favorite techniques to do this is to do file integrity checks or file access checks. Honey files are a great way to do this. I tell folks, hey, turn on Windows File Access Audit. Yeah, that's the reaction I always get. I don't know, I really wish I had like a display of everyone's face. I saw a bunch of people go, ugh. How many people, and myself, I'm definitely included in this, how many people have installed Windows File Access Audit and have just bricked a system? Yeah, I totally get that, and I feel your pain. I feel bad for you. What I want to show you is a tool called File System Watcher. It's written by a guy named Big Teddy. Yes, I said Big Teddy. He's a huge dude in the TechNet community, and you really need to check this guy out because his PowerShell scripts are beautiful on 2 counts. Number one, they're very well documented. So if PowerShell isn't your thing, I would encourage you to download his scripts and look at them so that you can get a handle on things. And then 2, he does some really neat scanning utilities. And this is a little proof of concept one that he wrote. So let's see if this works. No, it doesn't. Let's see if that works. Still doesn't. Okay, Okay, so what we're going to do all right, so System File Watcher is a crazy thing. What this does is it creates a provider on the file system or on the system.io API so that any access that meets the criteria is monitored. So let me bypass my PowerShell. Okay, now I can run this script. And now what it's done is create a created watchers for whenever a file is created, a file is deleted, or a file is changed inside this test directory. So anything that I do now inside this test directory should, fingers crossed, create an alert that you see in the PowerShell window. So new text document. There. Boom. And what's crazy is look at how fast that was, and the system resource load on this one is negligible. Now, I will caution you, don't do this on like C Windows. That would be bad. But what you should do is like consider using this on like a honeypot of some sort. It works really well. And what's also cool is you can also see deletions and any access, things like that. So this is really cool, really powerful. And quite frankly, more folks need to be doing that. So the question was, where am I logging that to? That demo was just displaying to system out or standard out. In the real world, you would want to write to like an event log or like some log that gets syslogged out. That was a great question. So System File Watcher, love it. I'm a huge fan of it. Go play around with tools like this. One of the things, those who really know me well know that I love network forensics, network analysis. I just love packets. They're just pleasing in a way that it's hard to articulate, and I realize I'm a weird guy, but whatever, you know, I've found a job where I can, you know, make money playing around with packets, so that's kind of cool. One of the problems that I have, though, when it comes to incident response is there are scenarios like this. The attacker is on the internet, the victim machine is on the LAN, our router in the middle with NetFlow is able to see all that traffic. Life is good, everyone's happy. But what happens when the attacker's inside? Maybe it's a malicious attacker that, you know, or a victim got a drive-by download. I don't know how the attacker got in the network, but when they're on the same subnet and the same LAN, your visibility gets shot to sunshine. And as a pen tester, one of my favorite things to do is find out what your subnet is, and I will pivot and lateral move like without any fear of being caught, because that east-west traffic is never, ever caught. So I wanted to change that. Made a tool called Sideswipe. And what Sideswipe does is, I'm going to get the VM set up here in a moment, but what Sideswipe does is this. When the router says everything's cool, right, you say, no, it's cool, router bro, I got you. Now, what happens with Sideswipe is that you will set up a monitoring system on your own local host, and I'm going to do it here. Whoops. Oh. So let me get this set up so that you can see it. All right, now I just need to spin up a VM. It can be our sacrificial system. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm simulating that I am a victim machine, or I don't know, I want to show you that we can catch this traffic. So what I'm going to do is start up my sideswipe host. This is going to be the target where I'm just going to do like network traffic stuff too. Now, I want to show you something that this is a deliberate choice. I've completely removed the firewall on this target machine to simulate just how open internal networks can be. Oops. Did I switch those around? Sure did. Cool. All right, so now we can see that they can talk to one another. Normally, this traffic is completely unobservable. That's bad. Very, very bad. So enter sideswipe. Oh man, I did it again without running it as admin. Bear with me just a second. Okay, cool. So now we just start the demo instance of sideswipe. Okay, so now this is running, and cool. All right, that's what we're hoping to see. And so now when I do this traffic, whatever, you know, like maybe do a net use. Okay, like, okay, that's fine, that's cool. Oh, well, we'll see how this plays out. So now, what happens is I've got, if the demo gods were kind, on my C drive, no, I don't want to do that, I have a captures. And what's happened here is, oh, it didn't capture. So in the interest of time, I'll just show you the captures. What this is doing is this launches, sideswipe uses the message analyzer. So believe it or not, Windows has a built-in packet capture facility. If you've ever done netshell trace, netsh trace, that's what we're using here. Except instead of using the command line, we're actually hitting that API directly. And what's cool is, and this takes a little bit of time to load, but what happens is, oh boy, hopefully this loads. What will happen is we're going to see, oh boy, of all the demos to fail. No, okay, there we go, it's slowly loading up. Cool, here you can now see all this network traffic that before you wouldn't have been able to see. And so this is really freaking dynamically awesome, and effectively what this means is your entire network, every single host, is now a sensor. And what's even more interesting is I've got a little proof of concept tool that does analysis on these and does things like who's the top talker in this subnet, who's communicating over these protocols. And I've got a weird feeling that this is going to be a real fun project. If you are at all into networking and stuff like that, please, I'd love your input on this. There's one little weird oddity, though, about this. I don't want to recreate Bro. And so I don't know what to do. What I'm thinking would probably be the path of least resistance is to just make and I've got a proof of concept thing that does this, that will convert these into PCAPs very easily. And there's other folks that have them out there too. And then you can just chunk those at a Bro instance. But I still do think that there needs to be like a light touch one that does some cursory analysis for this. But this is really cool, and this is built into the OS. All you need to do is have a PowerShell script that unlocks this capability. So look into this. I'm sorry, what's the question? Oh, so the question is, have I looked into a variety of the Bro extensions and tools to move that over to those? A little bit, not very much. One of the early proof of concept things that I did in my home lab was instead of writing to the local machine, I whitelisted the traffic such that I wouldn't record any of the streaming to a file share. And I was just doing the analysis on that file share as a whole, which was really cool because I was able to watch lateral movement in real time, which that's pretty freaking sweet. And again, all free. And the thing that's bonkers about this is it's actually not that hard to do. Okay, so let's go back to our programming. So that's Sideswipe. I'm a big fan of Sideswipe. So this is one of the things where I'm definitely going to need your input. I see some people going like, wow, this has got some potential. I hope it does. Please come up and chat with me about this. I really like this idea, and there's a lot of neat things. So containment. This is one of the things that, okay, I'm going to try not to use vulgarities, but it's that we're doing so poorly as an industry. We need to get better about containment. And one of the things that just boggles my mind when it comes to the issues within containment is, quite frankly, we've been hoodwinked by the vendors. And I realize this is sounding like more and more of an anti-vendor screed. And if you're a vendor, tough, up your game. I was on a call with a company, Gartner, where they were talking about how like all these next-gen products have the ability to magically halt executables and do crazy stuff that will stop the attackers. You know what, that's kind of cool. And they made it sound like it was the best thing since sliced bread, and that if you didn't buy this thing, that you could never, ever have that capability. And I said, wow, that's kind of weird, because for about a year I had a script that used Mark Rusinovich's PS suspend that allowed you to do that. And then after attending Graeber's talk yesterday, I was like, wow, I could like play around with some DLL stuff. And last night I hacked up a thing where I actually use the kernel 32 DLL debug process. And what's magic about it is when you attach a debug process to a running executable, just like that, it stops. So the tool that I have is Suspect. What Suspect is if you have something that you believe is a malicious executable, but you're not 100% certain, don't kill it from orbit, don't nuke it with fire, don't do all that stuff. Just pause it, allow yourself some time to do some analysis, and if it turns out to be non-malicious, you can unpause it and life is good. Or if it is actually malicious, you can keep it indefinitely suspended, or you can actually just kill that process and nobody needs to worry about it. So imagine a happy scenario where an attacker does their attack, you detect it, you stop that process, but oh, maybe you missed and you got the wrong thing, person calls the help desk, you can simply unfreeze that process. So let's show you how Suspect works. And there's going to be a whole lot more around suspect, but this is the heart and soul of it. So we've got this pause process, PS1, and it's a module that you load that gives you 2 new commandlets, and the command or functions, and those functions are pause process and unpause process. And what I'm going to do here is I have this suspect.ps1. Let's do this. So let me show you these. So just so that you see there's no tricks going on, this is simply a counter that's going to be showing the process ID of the PowerShell instance and just iterate. Like imagine this is some ransomware, I don't know, some whatever the bad guy's up to. So we're running suspect. Oops. And so now we have this suspicious loop running over and over and over again, okay? So something happens, you detect it, and what you simply will have done in advance, or as this tool matures, what you could do is simply import module. What's that? Okay, so now these modules are loaded, and what I can simply do is pause, process, and then you simply pass it the PID. And now, the counting stops. Now, let's say for some odd instance, your detection like misfired. Oh no, what do you do? Ah, scary. Person calls and they say, hey, help desk, I'm trying to do the month-end reporting, like what do? Help. And all they simply need to do is unpause, process, you type in the PID again, and it resumes like normal. The vendors would have you believe. Thank you, thank you. The vendors would have you believe that this is dark magic and that you need to pay a whole lot of money for this. You don't. I found how to do this without using the PS internals executable based off of what Graber said just yesterday. Did a little bit of research, hit the Googles, and was able to put together a thing that basically extends this DLL, does it. And in the limited time that I've had, I have done as much stress testing as I can on the rig that I have here. There's zero process. Like, there's zero RAM. This just works. We need to start changing and doing things differently. So I'm going to Control-C out of that. So where are we at now? Well, let's just start getting to work. Start doing things. Do things differently. The attackers are using the same playbook. One of the reasons that I tend not to do pen testing is, one, I don't think I'm terribly good at it, but number two is I find it to be very, very boring. Let's start shifting things up. Let's start making it so that the attackers have to work a little bit harder. Now, I showed you just a couple tools, and there were plenty of others that I had as resources. And I wish I had a monitor to reflect what you guys are showing. There's some folks that are like, cool, let's start playing around. And then there's other people that have this kind of attitude, like, get all these things installed and configured. Ain't nobody got time for all that. Well, okay, that's fair. This might be a lot of time and effort, right? No. Fast fix. Check this out. I don't want that one. All right. Watch. So now I've got it where it threw an error because the config wasn't set right. So right now this is a little rough, but you just simply hit yes here, and then it pops up the file to be monitored or changed. And then you'll also see that it tells you that a reboot's required. It's not hard. Earlier I said desired state configs are nice. Wasn't kidding. That's what this was. Yes, you have to put in a little time and effort to build them, but once they're done, you can do that kind of magic. It's pretty cool. Now is a good time to be a Windows admin. Now's a good time to be a defender. There's a lot of fun stuff on the horizon, and I'm going to be trying to keep on throwing some stuff out there and seeing what sticks on the wall, and I hope you guys come along with me on this. So, fast fix, take a look at it. I'm going to try to make it hard for people to say, oh, but I can't do my job because it's hard. Now, I do have to say something, though. There is a saying that when you press the easy button, God deploys a botnet in your network. One of the things, this is very true, though. Does anybody remember the digital forensics tool Coffee that was given out for law enforcement? You would put it on a USB stick and it would gather a lot of evidence. It was a static thing. The bad guys made decaf. That's what it does. One of the reasons that you as a blue teamer are always going to be playing catch up is if you are doing static defense and doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, you are going to be a known commodity. So to this end, I am going to make fast fix, and for those of you who don't have the technical wherewithal to customize scripts and do these things, please use it, but understand there's a cost with hitting that easy button. You can tweak these scripts. They're not going to be hard. I'm going to have a series of blog posts and talks over the next year about this. I think we need to start changing the industry, and we got to get rid of that easy button. Please start focusing on the pickerel. Start focusing on the first half, because it is now easier than ever to do the preparation, the identification, and containment. Remember what Shia LaBeouf said. He said, I find this proactive approach to be a nuanced approach in an endpoint defense, and just kidding, no. He said just do it. So go out there and start doing stuff. Start playing around. Save your endpoints. One of the things that makes me super angry is when I go to more of the suit type conferences, I will from time to time hear people that are well regarded in the industry and say, you know, we're giving up on the endpoints. It's all a wild, wild west. We're going to do bring your own device, and quite frankly, I don't care if they get ransomware on it. That's stupid as the day is long, because as an attacker, please and thank you. Like, I would love to have a base camp where you're not caring what the attacker's doing. So you need to save the endpoints, and if you do, by saving the endpoints, you save the enterprise. Please start pissing off the pen testers. Angry up your attackers. I'm out of time, but this is not the end. This is the start. Go fight. We can win. Here's how you win. Isolate your host. Minimize the attack surface. Monitor for baseline deviations. Thank you so much for your help and attention. I love DerbyCon, love your attendance. Thank you all. All right, now you're making me blush. Want to give a shout out to the podcasters out there. Be listening to the podcast. Thanks, Breaking Sec, for letting me do. If you don't know about this, Breaking Sec, check them out. I did like a 6-week-long shenanigans of me breaking demos and having a rough time. Honey, thank you for letting me stay up late and doing goofy stuff with PowerShell. Reviewers, thank you all very much. I'm going to be teaching some SAN stuff coming up. The SAN Sim Summit is in Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona, November 3rd. Right here in Louisville is a security summit. It's happening in April of next year. So please come and attend that. The CFP is now open. So please submit the CFPs. I'll be teaching. Oh, and we're getting to the Seattle thing. I'm going to be teaching Seattle here in the end of October. I'm going to be teaching Oslo, Norway, if you guys want to come. That's kind of fun. You probably have a bigger expense budget than me if you can do that. And then I'll be teaching Boston next year, at least so far. So if you want to chat, I'm going to be at the Sands table at 1 o'clock. They're right outside the Lockpick Village. Again, the slides will be up. There's about 40 extra slides that I didn't have time. There's some demos, there's some tools, there's some suggestions. Please check them out. Thank you. Thank you, Internet. That was such a cool idea.